Hey, today I'm going to talk about things to consider when wanting to get a pet snake. Now, this isn't a full guide, it's just some things that I thought about recently after I got my snake. Some things I thought about before, but then other things that came up later. And I thought this might be helpful to share because maybe other people have come across this, or maybe they haven't. Maybe you're watching this and you're thinking about getting a snake. Snakes are awesome, but just think about different things that might come up when you're, deciding on what snake you might want. And also, when you have that snake, things that might come up as well. Yeah. This is Flacco. He is my adorable hognose snake. He is very fast. So today we're going to talk about snakes, and we're going to talk about some things you might want to consider when you get a snake. So first thing to think about is, do you want a snake that's going to hold on? Hognose snakes don't necessarily do that. He's hanging on a little bit with his tail, but he's not going to ever wrap around my body. He's going to explore, which is super fun, but he's not going to be one that's going to constrict you. Maybe he'll chill out as he gets older, but he's fast. I really didn't realize that hognoses can be fast, because I heard they just kind of like plod around, and that's fine. But this is just something to keep aware of too. Do you want a fast snake, or do you want a slow snake? One snake that I kind of view as fast is like a milk snake. That could be fast. Ball pythons kind of ball up when they're afraid of you. Another thing about body language. So if you want a snake that's slower, you'll want to kind of do some research as to what those might look like. But again, it's all personality. Do you want a snake that has different sorts of body language? Hognose snakes will tell you in different ways that they're afraid. So one thing that they'll do is they will hood up to make themselves look big and bad and scary. And then they'll do a bluff strike. They might hiss at you. It's usually if they're afraid. Once you get them out though, they're fine. But they don't bite to hurt you. They bite if they think that you're food. So if you're handling their food, don't try to handle them. Another thing to keep in mind with snakes is, do you want one that's going to eat rodents? There's also reptilynx. But do you want one that is going to not eat rodents? There are snakes that don't. There are egg-eating snakes. There are insect-eating snakes. These guys are rear fang venomous, so you might want to consider that too. The snake that you get, is it legal in your area? Is it a snake that's okay in your area to keep? Also look at the lifespan of the snake. If you're getting a snake for your child, of course it's great to have them involved and responsibility. Ultimately, it'll be a responsibility. But if they're younger and then they go away to college, the snake will likely still be with you and will be with you. So be aware of that. If you're an adult and you're getting a snake, just be aware of how long of a commitment you're going to need. Some snakes live shorter and some live longer, many, many years. So definitely do your research and look at how long you are able to make that commitment, and then just know you might need to make it a little bit longer. Something important to think about when getting any kind of reptile is, how big will they get? And then how big of an enclosure will you need to get? And be aware that this could change over time. You might discover that they need actually a larger enclosure than that. So be ready to be able to have the ability to possibly expand to something bigger. They might start out small, but then get larger. So just be aware of how big that snake's going to get, because things can change over time. Just be ready to be able to be flexible. Another thing to consider is what time of day are you wanting to spend time with your snake? If you're a night person, then a nocturnal snake would be fine. But if you're not, and you're more of a morning or afternoon person, and not really a night person, then you would want a diurnal snake, meaning that they're awake during the day. Otherwise, you're disrupting their sleep habits. Just something to think about. One other thing I wanted to mention is that if you have any kind of reptile or any pet really, at some point you're probably going to need to take them to a vet. So just be aware that there are costs as well that go with that. So when you do get an animal, be prepared that you might have to spend some money to make sure that they're getting the treatment and care that they need if it comes up. Reptiles can be sick and not even let you know, but they can also be sick and let you know once it's kind of far gone. But either way, it's a good idea to make sure that you are prepared for that, so that you don't suddenly get surprised and say, I can't afford it. Just make sure that you're setting some money aside, or at least be prepared that you might have to shell out some money if it comes up. It might not, but just be aware it could. Okay, so now that you know what snake you want, do the research to make sure you have all the husbandry right, that you get everything that you need for their care. They're going to need lighting, some kind of heating, a housing, some kind of substrate. What are they going to eat? The size that they're going to eat. So you'll definitely want to do all that research to make sure that you're ready for when they're there. And also make sure that you get the enclosure ready before you get the snake. Now, when I got my hognose snake, the person I purchased it from sold a hognose snake starter kit, basically, which is what he started in, and I'll be moving him up as he gets more comfortable to something larger and then larger again. I want to make sure that he transitions well, so I bought that from her. It gave me everything that I needed, which was great. So if you're lucky to be able to do that, then perfect, but it's generally a good idea to be ready before you get the animal. Don't just get one on a whim, because these are commitment. Look at him, look at the cute little face. Oh my gosh.